Okay, we're going to get into our next presenter. This is going to be just another great ideas for us. I'm really excited about this one too. We talked a little bit yesterday about how we can prioritize wellness in our LCAP. So I'm really excited to get to hear a little bit more from the fabulous Crystal Young from CDE. And we also have a pre-recorded presentation from Sanella Sanborn, who is with the County of San Diego Health and Human Services Agency. And also joining them will be our fabulous friend, Cassidy Boardman, who came up from Upland Unified, and she's gonna share with us a success story that's in her district. So let's welcome Crystal and Cassidy to the stage, please.
Okay. All right, here we go. I got it. All right. So as I promised, I'm going to get a little into how local school wellness policy and LCAP go together today. We've been asked to share, and I have the privilege of being up here with a friendly face. I've had the privilege of working with Cassidy and her team from Upland Unified School District as part of our Teen Nutrition Grant. And then you'll also be hearing from our friends down in San Diego County Health and Human Services about their work around LCAP, who's really held me accountable at the CDE to make sure that very great information is available on our webpage, so be sure to look at that. I know they were really wanting to be a part of this event, so I'm so glad to have the wellness team work together so that they could provide this information virtually. But my role is really to help set the stage. We have a number of things going on at CDE, and so hopefully what I can do today is kind of help answer the question. I think it was appropriate that it was actually asked in my previous session, and so that was really cool. But maybe you're still wondering for yourselves, where does local school wellness policy implementation fit in the local control funding priorities and your local control accountability plans? So this image on the screen looks a little bit different. Obviously, it's inspired by the WISC model, but it was actually created by the CDE. It was a cross-department project. Over 17 divisions worked together to go and vet all of our resources on our CDE webpage and try to align them with the LCFF priorities and the whole child framework. So this was several years ago, and we were hoping to be able to provide a place where you could go and find resources and supports. At the center of this image, you see it kind of represents each child that we support from cradle to career, because that's how we see our vision and our work at CDE is from cradle to career. And then the arms represent each person supporting the child in their community, right? And then you have these rays from that represent the resources and services that we provide them. And so we're like, oh, this is really cool. We're going to make it hyperlinked to all the pages and all this stuff to help you navigate all the stuff on our webpage that could be useful in working on your LCAP plans. We call it the LCFF Whole Child Resource Map, but what we found is that it's really a great communication tool. LEAs have been using it to share with their staff and families how we work together as one system of coordinated resources and supports. And I think that's what you're kind of hearing from our time together today. So then I ask again, looking at the map, where would you put local school wellness policy implementation? Anybody want to give a stab? What was that? Gosh. Somebody's learned something along the way, right? Exactly. She said everywhere. And so the answer is you can put it anywhere you want. And so how LCFF and LCAP was designed is that, you know, it's up to the LEA's discretion to show and describe the correlation between their efforts and the outcomes. And so we were kind of amiss in trying to put everything in a box for you, because that's not really what we want you to do. We want you to look at this and say, if I put Daniel in the center and I make this a 3D dial and I spin things around, I can tell you a story about how our school community supports Daniel using the whole child framework, meeting the LCFF priorities, and having this coordinated system of support, right? And so essentially, that is what LCAP is asking you to do. And coincidentally, the requirements for the local school wellness policy is asking you to do the same thing. So think about your local school wellness policy requirements. Think about your LCAP requirements. Both ask you to provide local data, whether that's qualitative and quantitative. And I want to enforce that, because sometimes we think, well, our school gardens, we don't have like a testing system for all this stuff. Well, it doesn't matter. Qualitative data is just as relevant as quantitative data in the LCAP. They want you to share reflections. They want to hear about what are your successes, your needs, and that's the storytelling piece of it that you get to add to your LCAP about the amazing things that are happening in your school. Both ask you to demonstrate community engagement, right? So as was mentioned earlier, if we're bringing parents into the community, why are we not being coordinated in our approach to bring the discussions so that it's convenient for them to really understand how all these things work together and where their impact and their input and feedback is valuable. They both also ask you to identify goals and actions, and then to assess and monitor progress and effectiveness. And this really comes into play now as we enter in the era of our triennial assessment process, right? You have a number of resources to help monitor your wellness policies, implementation and policy implementation effectiveness, how you're, progressing with your goals, as well as the effectiveness. You can use the state data, as some of our other presenters have mentioned, whether that's through our dashboard or the school health index. So we have a lot of information that you all are collecting locally that we do not have at the state. And so when you are able to communicate that consistently every 3 years, that this is what's happening and this is what's important to our families in your LCAP, that provides a lot more opportunities for not only you to get support, but also funding. So I want you to think about where your activities align and with some of the priorities that are out there. So for example, a school garden program, breakfast after the bell, farm to school events. Those are real things that you're probably already doing that you may not be including in your LCAP plan, as ways that you are helping to meet the parent involvement, pupil engagement, school climate, course access, student achievement, right? Priorities. But they are relevant, and as was shared at the beginning of the day, I mean, you're talking about students who want to show up because they want to run, right? That's a story that should be told. That builds school connectedness, and that's what they're looking for. So it's a great opportunity to really find those examples, start building it into your triennial assessment process, start linking it for your district to say, hey, this is how we can support you in doing this work. Here's how you can support us, and make it an exchange, because they truly do align. And there's lots of things, lots of opportunities happening within the wellness community and in your efforts. And of course, I'm going to bring attention to some of the more present or ones closer to what I work with, like the meal programs. I know we've talked about adequate time to eat, school meals, and in partnership with our expanded learning opportunities, as well as pre-K opportunities, universal meals, and this beautiful idea of site and district school wellness coordinators. Those are just some examples that we've heard this week, and opportunities for you to start leveraging and partnering with your LCAP teams. So, I couldn't do this presentation without reaching out to the leads at CDE. And after meeting with the department lead for LCAP, he said, please tell them this, that even though we might find your wellness efforts often put in the social emotional component of the LCAP, it really can go anywhere. And to remember that these LCFF funding dollars are unrestricted. So if there's something that your community wants, this is the opportunity to get that money to do it. There's no requirements as far as how those dollars are used. We're just saying, he's saying this can provide funding for the opportunities and needs that you have to serve your students. We're just asking you to tell the story. And that means that whether it's qualitative or quantitative, if you can show that you have the support from your educators, your parents, the staff, and students, those things can be included in your metrics and therefore support your LCAP. So I'm going to turn it over to our other presenters because they have some really great examples of how to do that, how it's practically been done both in San Diego and in Upland. Thank you. Oh, I forgot. We do have resources available at CDE. If you're not familiar with them, they are on our local school wellness policy webpage and collaborative webpage. Especially, I want to call out these tools that we've created early on for advocating for wellness in LCAPs, as well as a guide that was provided for specifically around school nutrition and academic success. And then, of course, our CDE LCAP resource development webpage. If you want to contact us directly, I'm available at the local school wellness policy email address. And then we also have some folks at our LCFF division that are available to you as well. All right, so now I can transfer back to our video from San Diego.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. My name is Victoria. And my name is Sanella. And we are graduate student workers with the County of San Diego's Live Well Schools team. Today, we will primarily share how Live Well Schools scans and analyzes San Diego School District's local control and accountability plans, also known as LCAPs. The LCAP is a district's budget that is submitted annually. We will also briefly discuss Live Well Schools' analysis of chronic absenteeism and wellness policy trends and how they relate to the LCAP. Live Well Schools is an initiative of Live Well San Diego. The Live Well School strategy is to listen to and engage district-level decision makers and provide tools and data analysis to increase health equity and academic success. Another strategy is to foster collaboration within the County of San Diego's Health and Human Services Agency with partners such as the San Diego County Office of Education. The Live Well Schools team provides data analysis and advocacy efforts in three main areas: chronic absenteeism, wellness policy, and investments in student wellness through the LCAP. This infographic puts data from the three focus areas into context. The message of this infographic is that better student attendance is fostered by a strong wellness policy supported by funding through the district's budget. Our first focus area is chronic absenteeism. In California, chronic absenteeism is defined as a student missing 10% or more of school days, whether that absence is excused or unexcused. This equates to roughly 18 school days throughout the year. Chronic absenteeism data is one of the metrics on the California School Dashboard and must be reported by school districts annually. Chronic absenteeism should not be confused with truancy or unexcused absences, or average daily attendance rates, which are applied to state report cards and used for federal accountability and funding. The Live Well Schools team performs data analysis on chronic absenteeism rates for schools in San Diego County. We access local and state data through the California Department of Education public system and perform utilizing when new school year data becomes available, usually in December. The top table compares the percent of chronically absent students in San Diego County over the past 2 school years. This data does not include charter schools. As we can see, statewide and regionally, rates have nearly doubled. To continue our quick county snapshot, the table below presents a breakdown of student subgroups across all 42 school districts in San Diego County. Highlighted information indicates a county chronic absenteeism rate that exceeds the state of California average. The student groups with stars must have rates reported and addressed in the district's LCAP, also known as their budget. The second focus area is the wellness policy. LiveWell Schools uses the quantitative tool LCAPs 3.0 to analyze the wellness policy of all districts in San Diego County. The LCAPs 3.0 was developed by the Yukon Red Center for Food Policy and Health. It is a tool used across the United States to rate 67 policy components to produce a report scoring comprehensiveness and language strength, each on a scale of 0 to 100 points. Here is a table comparing the San Diego County School District's WellSat across scores from 2015, 2019, and 2023. You can see a large increase, 20 points, from 2015 to 2019 in comprehensiveness of policy language, and a 13-point increase in the strength of policy language. This increase can be attributed to 22 out of 42 school districts updating their wellness policy during this period. From 2019 to 2023, county averages for comprehensiveness and language strength continue to improve, with the comprehensiveness score increasing by 4 points and the strength increasing by an additional 10. The graph shows the trends observed among San Diego County's 42 school districts' wellness policies as they relate to comprehensiveness and language strength.
Our third focus area is local control and accountability plans. LCAPs set budgeted goals and actions for student achievement, focusing on students with the greatest need, English learners, children from low-income families, and foster youth. We analyze these budgets to identify spending dedicated to health and wellness. We encourage districts to itemize their spending so we and the school community can tell how much money is spent on specific actions to achieve district goals. This is our infographic that explains what an LCAP is, who they're for, and why it's important. This infographic can be found on the LiveWell Schools website page for students, families, and community members, which can be accessed by scanning the first QR code. More in-depth information on LCAP can be found on the webpage for school and district staff at the second QR code. So, what is an LCAP? LCAPs are 3-year plans that describe the goals, actions, services, and expenditures a district plans to make to support positive student outcomes that address state and local priorities. Within the LCAP, chronic absenteeism rates and level of stakeholder engagement must be described, both of which are important to achieve health and educational equity in all student groups in the school district. The LiveWell Schools team analyzes these budgets to identify spending dedicated to health and wellness, which we abbreviate as H&W. LCAP analysis focuses on 3 main health and wellness categories: physical health, social emotional health, and safety. In 2021 to 2022, San Diego County school districts collectively invested more than $386 million on itemized health and wellness actions, which amounted to 45% of the district's total health and wellness spending. The remaining 55% of budgeted actions, total approximately $470 million, were non-itemized, meaning health and wellness actions and non-health and wellness actions were combined and therefore were not able to be included in our final analysis. Health and wellness itemized actions include safety, physical health, and social emotional health. You can see that of the itemized funding, 43% is for social emotional health, 50% is for physical health, and 7% is for safety actions. Analyzing LCAPs is a multi-step process, so it is helpful to understand how LCAPs are analyzed. First, it must be determined if the action item fits into one of the 3 health and wellness categories: safety, social-emotional health, or physical health. Therefore, it is critical that we can clearly see what the funds were used for, and that multiple categories are not combined in a single action item. Here you can see the 3 categories and their corresponding subcategories. Actions in each combined subcategory are counted towards the itemized health and wellness actions. However, combining 2 or more main categories or combining health and wellness actions with non-health and wellness actions are not included in the total of itemized actions. So, when an LCAP includes multiple actions combined into one spending amount, it is unclear how much money is being spent on any one action. Here, you can see the total itemized health and wellness actions for all of San Diego County districts total only 17% of the total LCAP spending. We could only clearly account for $386 million in spending on health and wellness actions out of the total LCAP spending of $2.2 billion.
In addition to the analysis we just described, Live Well Schools offers an online searchable database of more than 500 resources called Tools for Schools. Live Well Schools website also provides more information on each of our focus areas and strategies. So I encourage you to check it out. Thank you so much for your time. Please feel free to contact Deirdre Kleski at the email address provided if you have any questions.
Okay, hi. I think I'm going to get about halfway through and then we're going to have the emergency alarm. So I'm going to keep an eye on the time and give everyone time to do what we need to do with that. Okay, so again, my name is Cassidy. I'm here without my supervisor, the Director of Nutrition Services, Ksenia Glenn, but huge supporter of our program and that of Farm to School, and that will come to be very apparent throughout the presentation. Today I want to talk about how fall of 2021, our district actually made the really amazing step to start funding some of our Farm to School programming with LCAP support. This was a humongous step for Farm to School, and also I believe a really integral piece of our district supporting the Farm to School programming and kind of taking us from an auxiliary program that was kind of felt like it was running on the side after school to something that feels more integrated into the district. And I hope through my presentation you'll see how that kind of came to be as well. So first, what is our Upland USD Farm to School? So I kind of touched on this yesterday, but again, we have a garden in every school. We also have garden programming in every school. So in the elementary schools, we teach 5-6-week cohorts. So we reach about 125 students in garden club at each elementary school. We have 10 elementary schools. We also do junior high and high school garden club programming. In Upland, we have 14 schools and about between 10 and 11,000 students depending on the year. We also provide local farmer connections. Just this past year, we increased our local procurement to 50%. So we're really trying to utilize our Farm to School programming to connect with local farmers, do some field trips, and then have the farmers come to visit our students as well. We're also helping with local sustainability practices in the cafeteria and some of that SB 1383 compliance, share carts, sustainable packaging, anything we can really do to kind of support sustainability in the kitchens and cafeteria, and that's actually my background is in sustainability, so that fit nicely as well. And then finally, we do provide nutrition education. Upland is one of, I believe, 8 districts in California that has food corps. So we have 3 food corps service members that teach full-time nutrition education to our students. And this year, we are also recipients of Climate Action Corps. So they are also out teaching various educational topics to our students. I really quick just also want to touch on, as I get into this, what I do in my role, because I'm hoping it can help other districts see if you support Farm to School programming, what that person can also take on for your district. I'm learning a ton here because with my new role, I also now do the school the wellness policy and the wellness committee. So that's something I was able to take on as well. And then again, not only just managing the farm to school program, but getting into the cafeteria with some of the local farmer connections. I actually place our produce order with the local farms every week for our staff, and also helping with menu development. And I go to the menu meetings and I can tell them what's in season that week and what we can really expect to be high quality from our farmers. Okay, so I'm going to kind of walk through how Farm to School has been funded, and then it'll lead into when we got to that LCAP funding point. So originally, our Farm to School programming was one to two part-time interns, and that was funded by a local philanthropist, Randall Lewis, really strong roots in Southern California, real estate mogul, philanthropist, and supports a lot of programming in our area. So we're very lucky to have a relationship with him and for him to support our district. When I started, there were 2 school gardens, and they were doing a couple small garden clubs, but it was very site-based, so it wasn't district-based as it is now. We moved into 2018, 2019 with some USDA Farm to School implementation grant funding, which is a fantastic starter grant if you're just getting started on your Farm to School funding. That helped to increase the part-time position to a full-time position, still independent contractor based and still paid hourly, but it helps to have a full-time person there as opposed to maybe 2 part-time interns sharing responsibilities. By 2019, we had also increased to I think about 7 or 8 gardens. Oh. It's a little early.
All right, balance break time. Let's go. Stand up on your feet. Let's do whatever we gotta do. Let's go.
Does it turn off on its own? Should I go get, okay. Should I go get my phone? Yes. Okay. That was actually pleasant. It wasn't as loud as I thought it was. Okay. Oh. Yes. And I have 2 phones over there, so sorry. Probably both are going to go off. Okay. So as we moved into 2018, 2019, as I mentioned, we started to really increase. We started to have the LCAP conversation actually winter of 2019 into spring of 2020, right before COVID. So at that point, we were up to about 10 school gardens, lots of additional, I'm just going to talk through it, and lots of additional kids in garden club, and okay. And it was becoming apparent that this was going to be a growing program. I think when districts start the conversation for we want a garden in every school, it seems like an easier task than it actually turns out to be. And I also think a lot of grants will give you as much money as you need for supplies, but they won't give you the money to pay the people to do it. So that was also where we were up against. So we were getting Whole Kids grants and Sprouts grants. And Lowe's grants for supplies, no problem, but we were really having a problem with paying the people to do it because at the end of the day, I still only have 2 hands, and at this point, I was still the only staff member in Farm to School. So we started the conversation for the LCAP funding. And I also shared yesterday how CDFA just totally changed the trajectory of our program, and that's still very true. So how did we start the conversation for Farm to School to be within LCAP? These are some basic LCAP goals. These are also our LCAP goals. In our district. So on the this would be the left-hand side, is our district's mission, vision, values, and priorities. And so one of our district's goals is that students are safe, connected, and engaged. Through after-school programming, the community events we have, the parent engagement, also all the nutrition support that we're able to do through LCAP, it was also it was easy to make that argument that we were going to be able to fit into LCAP. What we actually did, I'm going to go forward to that next slide. So do I have that? No, I don't. Okay, so what we actually did is we wrote an executive summary with all of our, and I'm happy to share this resource out, but we wrote an executive summary with how Farm to School fit into these LCAP goals, and then we kind of let our district pick, like Crystal was saying, which one they would prefer to write it into. But we were actually able to make the argument that LCAP fit into most of our LCAP goals, or I'm sorry, Farm to School fit into most of our LCAP goals. So this was happening during COVID, and by October 2021, they had passed our new LCAP budget, and this is what we were left with. So previous to this, my position was a farm to school coordinator, full-time independent contractor, paid hourly, so no benefits, no sick time, all that good stuff. And it was becoming apparent that I remember having the conversation, even if it's not me, we have 12 school gardens at this point. We have so many kids in garden club. I'm teaching 8 garden clubs a week. This is a growing program that is really showing a lot of success and traction in Upland, and we don't want it to go now because we don't have the staffing to do it. So the district very graciously started, so we wrote the job description and we started a farm to school program manager position within the district. This is a district leadership management position. So within this, I'm also able to attend all of the leadership meetings, which is so important to be able to be involved in those conversations and have relationships with the other directors and departments, because it's been able to integrate farm to school into every department that we have at the district, because we're at the table having these conversations. So again, I talked about doing program management. I also brought back Harvest of the Month. So I was able to take back all of these things that we were kind of getting pushed to the side because there wasn't the time or the staffing to do it. I also do the wellness committee and policy, local produce procurement. Someone mentioned like other duties is assigned earlier, and that is absolutely the truth. They also this year are funding a farm to school program assistant. So we have 3, 2 are grant funded and 1 is funded by our LCAP. And that is those are people that are able to go out and teach garden club, which is fantastic. We also pay for staff time carding because we like to have 2 adults out in garden club just in case something happens. So a staff from the school will stay and help with garden club an hour a week, and LCAP helps to pay for that time carding. And then just additional program support. One of our fellowships said that they were kind of low on funding a couple years ago, so we're able to use some district LCAP funding to pay for our fellows that year. So what this did for us is, need to go back. What this did for us is it actually allowed us to from last year from 2021, 2022 to 22, 23, we doubled our students in garden club and after school garden club. We went from about 360 to 750. We completed a garden in every school. We brought back Harvest of the Month to 200 teachers. We increased our local procurement of fruits and vegetables to 50%. Having a program manager in farm to school can go so far. And I say that because I was the person writing grants for their own job for 3 years. And I was that, trying to get that CDFA grant and the LCAP or the farm to school grant to make sure that we still had these opportunities for our students. Also, seeing the district make this decision to support farm to school, and not that they weren't supportive before, but actually put the money out to pay for the farm to school program, the connections we've been able to make across the district are just immense. We're working now with preschool and daycare and our support services and clubs on campus, and just because we have someone there who's regularly at the meetings and who can regularly show up. I mentioned yesterday our farm to school team increased from 4 to 14. I just got an email that it's probably going to increase even more by the end of the year. In terms of like our operating costs, LCAP's covering about, I would say 40 to 50%. And it was described to me as like a drop in the bucket compared to a lot of other stuff that the district has to pay for. But the outcome is so immense. This is what we're planning to do this year because of that LCAP support. So we're actually hoping that we're going to reach 50% of our students with farm to school programming this year. This is direct education, after school garden club, food core lessons, climate action core lessons. We've also, like I mentioned, expanded our garden club to preschool and TK. We're expanding our school gardens and outdoor classrooms. We're seeing teachers come out and use the outdoor classrooms, which is awesome. We're increasing our community engagement, increased garden produce on the salad bar, farm to school field trips, and again, our team is helping with our district SB 1383 compliance. Also, just in terms of like in the press, we've had articles written about us from a couple different news sources. Next week, a radio station's coming out to do an interview. So it's just been a lot of really good opportunities to put Upland on the map because of this Garden in Every School project, as well as Upland's support of the LCAP funding for the program. The last thing I want to mention is not every funding source is sustainable forever. We have gotten notice that we're basically because of some budgetary things at the California level, they're asking us to kind of leverage a little bit of that funding within the LCAP, which we will figure it out. But again, they're still promising that support. And I think it's just from where we were 5 years ago, where we weren't even part of the conversation, to now being included in that conversation and having this opportunity, it really has done wonders for our program. So I would encourage everybody to reach out to me or my supervisor if you want any information. Our Instagram's up here as well, and I manage that, so I can get back to you via Instagram. And just start to have the conversation, because even if it's that small foot in the door, like, okay, can you give us $10,000, you know, can we do 10,000 in LCAP to pay for a part-time person to come take care of the gardens once a week or to teach garden club? When you get your foot in the door, it really just changes that conversation completely. So thank you so much.
Thank you both so very much. I am jazzed to go back and talk to my superintendent about getting on the LCAP. Oh my goodness. That was fantastic. I know we talked a lot about that yesterday and wanting to get some of that insider feedback. So thank you, Crystal and Cassidy, so much. That was just really fantastic.